Hello everyone and welcome to another live research video, where in this video we will be researching the fight between Yorgan de Castro and Justin Tafa together that takes place this weekend at UFC 243. So I have only got one bet for this weekend so far, and hopefully we'll be able to find another one on this fight, because the odds are relatively balanced on this fight. As you can see at the moment, we have got Justin Tafa only a slight favourite at around about 1.80, which I believe is odds of minus 125. It is if you're in the United States. So both guys roughly around even money. These are the kind of fights where you can really find good betting opportunities, because if you can just find a guy with some kind of significant edge in a matchup, you can get a good amount of value. And like I say, I've only got one bet on this event so far, so hoping to find another one on this fight. But having said that, earlier on today we did get odds released for 7 fights on Bellator, which takes place tomorrow night, Friday night. So fingers crossed we'll be able to find something decent on that Bellator card. There are a few potential bets on this card that are interesting to me, but I need to research them first. Of course, there are also 4 heavy favourites on this card, so typical Bellator card, probably full of squash matches. We will jump into these fights and see what we come up with. And you know what? Maybe I'll live stream some of my research sessions for these fight guys. So if you do want to see that, if you do want to see me, live stream my research for these fights, hit the like button below and subscribe, and also leave a comment and let me know if you want me to also bring you Bellator this week, because as you can see, I've only got 2 fights left to research on UFC 243, so I am well ahead of schedule with 2 full days and this evening still to be able to put into research, with this only being Thursday evening. So let me know, guys, if you do want some Bellator content this week. Let me know by hitting the like button and also subscribing if you haven't already. So let's now jump in to researching this fight between Yorgan de Castro and Justin Tafa. I say that it might be a good one for betting, but it also might be a tricky one because there's not that much footage available on Yorgan de Castro. So I guess before we get into researching this fight and watching footage of both guys, I guess I'd like to ask for a little bit of help from everyone watching. So I am very interested in betting this fight, but unfortunately there's really not that much recent footage available on Yorgan de Castro. But we can see that recently he has fought to a decision in this fight at CES 54 against Carlton Little. Now this is disappointing because in all the main card fights from CES 54 are available on UFC Fight Pass, but this one for whatever reason isn't. I would absolutely love to watch this fight. I would love to watch this one against William Knight as well if I could, and this one from CES 50, but I can't find them. So if anyone knows where I can find these fights, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to watch them. It would really help my research for this fight, but as it stands, I've been unable to find them anywhere, which is super disappointing. But we do have a little bit of footage to work from. Hopefully that will enable us to make a betting decision on this fight. And just going to the Twitch live stream, Tasmanian187 has asked, could you research Andrei Koreshkov versus Lorenz Larkin? I will be researching that fight, but I won't be able to live stream my research for that fight because obviously most of their past fights will be on the Bellator.com website, which will be copyright protected, so won't be able to live stream my research for Koreshkov versus Larkin. But I'm sure there's some other fights on here that I will be able to live stream research for, because these guys have probably competed outside of Bellator, so there should be a good amount of footage available on them from the last couple of years on some of these other fights like Mandy Poke, Adil Al-Tamimi, Salim Mukadinov. Yeah, my pronunciations are bad. So let's get into some footage here, and Lee Dosis has actually just asked if I'm still considering a bet on Al Iaquinta because the odds seem a bit nuts. I've got to give that fight some more thought, man. I haven't made my mind up on the Hooker versus Iaquinta fight yet. I'm still going over it in my head. So we will see, man. We will see. I might bet either guy as it stands. Who knows? We will see what happens. I need to spend a bit more time putting some thought into that. Watch a few more fights. So now let's get into some footage. Yorgan de Castro against Justin Tafa. I have watched Yorgan de Castro's last fight against Alton Meeks on Dana White's Contender Series, although as you can see here, it ended within about 5 minutes. So you can't learn too much about him, but we do get a feel for what he brings to the table. What I would say based on that performance is that his takedown defense is very good. He's quite good at scrambling back to his feet, but his striking isn't great. Hand speed's quite slow, not that technical. Doesn't seem too dangerous standing, despite the fact that he's got a few wins by knockout, a few wins by punches, which is why I wish more of these fights were available, because to me, Alton Meeks' striking didn't look that... De Castro's striking didn't look that dangerous against Alton Meeks. The fight ended under weird circumstances as well. He threw a leg kick and Alton Meeks blew his knee out as a result of it. So I've got an idea in my head of what Alton Meeks... need to stop saying that. Of what De Castro brings to the table. And let's watch one more of his fights. The only other fight that I could find from recently that was available of his online is against Raz Hilton, which unfortunately ends very, very quickly in 2.5 minutes. Shame one of these ones, which lasted longer, isn't available. That's the way it goes. Let's get into watching it now and see what De Castro brings to the table. So De Castro is the guy. He is the guy on the right side of your screen that is out of shot at the moment in the red shorts. Here we go. Let's see what he brings to the table. He looks a bit smaller than he did in the fight on the Contender Series. Is this fight in a different weight class? Is this a middleweight or like... Interesting. Yeah, I was going to say, he does look smaller in this fight. So this was a catch weight of 225 pounds. Does that mean he's normally a light heavyweight? Oh, interesting. It does mean he was a light heavyweight. So that's the first observation. He has fought at light heavyweight for half of his career. If we go further back. Interesting. So this might be the first or only the second or third time that he's legitimately fought a heavyweight. So what's his size? 5'11" with a 74-inch reach. Okay, so that's my first observation. Before we even get into technique, he looks quite small in there. So we don't have the height and reach of Justin Tafa, but maybe we will be able to gauge his size when we watch a bit of footage on him in a moment. But at 5'11" with a 74-inch reach, he will be very small for a heavyweight. And let's just cover off the other X factors. He's 31 years old. Couldn't find out too much information on him from his Instagram profile. Doesn't really look like he trains with anyone of note. Seems to train at small independent gyms. Who's this in his picture here? Don't recognise anyone there. Don't recognise anyone there either. So, oh, okay, there he is with Joe Lauzon. So does he train at Lauzon MMA? That's the only picture I can find from that gym. So it does look like De Castro trains at some small MMA gyms. And in terms of Justin Tafa, he trains with, he trains at quite a great stable of fighters. Here we can see him at Tiger Muay Thai. There's quite a lot of training pictures of him training at Tiger Muay Thai on his Instagram profile, which is obviously great because Tiger Muay Thai is one of the best MMA gyms in the world, despite being called a Muay Thai gym. And also, we know that he trains with Mark Hunt here. We have gone Mark Hunt. That means that he trains with Tai Tuivasa and also Tyson Pedro. And I'm not sure if there's any photographic evidence of that, but he has talked about training with those boys a lot. There we go. There's Tai Tuivasa and Tyson Pedro alongside Justin Tafa. So he certainly comes from a very good stable of fighters. But back to this fight against De Castro and Raz Hilton. And iClickUTilt has actually just shared some really cool information with us on Twitch. He said that Tafa's size, according to the UFC website, is 1 meter 82 centimeters. So he's not that much taller than De Castro. He's only around 2 centimeters taller, which means that they're pretty much both going to be 5'11". So Castro's hands looking a bit faster than they did in his debut. or not his debut, but that he did on his last fight in the Contender Series. And we're actually seeing him shoot a takedown here, which is very interesting because he was the fighter on the back foot in terms of grappling on the Contender Series fight, with his opponent trying to take him down. As we know, a big weakness of the fighters that train with Mark Hunt is takedown defense and their ground game. You know, it's Mark Hunt's biggest Achilles heel. It is also, you know, Tai Tuivasa's biggest Achilles heel. We don't know how Tafa's grappling is, but interesting to see De Castro go for a takedown there. And all I just noticed there was where he's throwing these naked leg kicks. Usually, if you just stand there spamming leg kicks against, you know, a heavy-handed opponent, a big heavyweight, they're just going to punch you really hard in the face. You know, they say the best counter to a leg kick is a punch in the face. And when De Castro's throwing these leg kicks, he is wide open to eating a big counter. And if Justin Tafa's anything like Tuivasa or Hunt, you certainly wouldn't want to be just standing right in front of your opponent spamming leg kicks like that. So wild hooks being thrown here by De Castro. And it's strange how he spams those leg kicks like Raz Hilton's a heavy bag or something. But the way he shot in on Hilton was a little bit concerning, although didn't get anywhere near the takedown. But it shows an intent to grapple. This fight was from November last year, so about a year ago now. And iClickUtilt has just said that Tafa's got a 72-inch reach, which means they've both got a similar reach. De Castro with a 2-inch reach advantage, which should be not that significant, especially when he strikes like this, throwing wide hooks. But what I am noticing is when he's throwing these leg kicks, he's leaving himself wide open. He's leaving his head totally exposed to eating big shots. And here he's just getting wild with the stand-up. But what I am noticing from De Castro is he's not particularly dangerous standing. He's throwing these big, wild, looping hooks. And, you know, Justin Tafa, if he's got that Samoan chin, you know, he's teeing off on Hilton here, landing big, hard, clean shots. And Hilton's taking it, you know. We know what the Samoan chin is like. We know, you know, the Samoans, Tuivasa, Hunt, they can take a shot. If Tafa's anything like that, you know, they are a different breed from that part of the world. They're extremely tough. They've got a granite chin. I'm not seeing De Castro possibly really being able to pose a threat standing to a guy like that, because if Tafa is anything like Tuivasa and Hunt, which, you know, it is possibly a stretch to say it is. You know, he's only 3-0. He's only had 3 pro fights. Well, I would say if he is like those boys, he's going to have a good chin. He's going to hit very hard. And if you just stand there right in front of him spamming leg kicks, there's going to be nuclear missiles coming back at your chin that are going to carry enough power to put you away. So De Castro, he loves this leg kick. And he's just leaving himself wide open up top to big uppercuts, big counters. And like I say, just standing flat-footed right in front of Hilton, winging big hooks. And eventually one of them puts his man down. But against a more accomplished, a more technical striker, he just wouldn't be a threat because he's so predictable. He just spams the same strikes over and over and over again. You'd see him coming from a mile away. You know, Hilton didn't have any footwork there, no striking defense, stood right in front of him. And De Castro was able to tee off for a good 3 or 4 minutes before eventually landing the kill shot. So not impressed there with Castro from what I've seen. And also, like I said, when he competed on the Contender Series, I saw more of the same. Not too dangerous standing, you know, big wild hooks. It'll be interesting now to see what Tafa brings to the table. So Tafa is 3-0, 1 amateur fight, And I do believe that all three of these past fights are available for us to watch. So while there's not too much footage available on De Castro, thankfully we have the luxury of having a little bit of footage on Justin Tafa to watch. Hopefully we get to see a little bit of his takedown defense, because we don't know much about De Castro's offensive wrestling. And he certainly did show some intent to get his opponent to the ground there. So let's take a look and see what we've got. So Justin Tafa's last fight from XFC 41, and I'm really sorry to be disrespectful and butcher these surnames, but David Tamaupau. I'm not gonna butcher his surname because it's disrespectful. I'm just gonna call his opponent David, and I'm really sorry that I am super stupid and I can't actually pronounce this surname. Because we don't really have names like that in this part of the world, so I can't even try and guess how to pronounce it. So I'm just going to call him David so that I don't mess his surname up. Okay, interesting. So unfortunately, we only have the second round of this fight to watch. For whatever reason, I could only find the second round. But we will take a look at the second round here. We have got Justin Tafa in the black and yellow shorts with the red gloves, wearing the UFC gloves. Oh, both boys wearing the UFC gloves. Interesting. Let's just see what Tafa brings to the table here. Fighting southpaw, which straight away could cause an inexperienced fighter like De Castro some problems. Certainly looks like Mark Hunt, the same body type, same flat-footed stance. Big uppercut. Well, boys, there you go, right? There you go. Stepped into a giant uppercut. Justin Tafa's like, oh, you're not going to keep your hands up. You're not going to keep your chin tucked. You're not going to move away when I throw a strike. You're just going to stand flat-footed in front of me. How about I slip a fucking nuclear bomb of an uppercut right up the middle of your boxing guard and KO you dead? Boom, dead. Boys, what do you think is going to happen if De Castro stands in front of Tafa spamming leg kicks? What do you think is going to happen? I'll tell you what's going to happen. I don't have a crystal ball. It's probably going to look a little bit like this. Boom, dead. That's probably what's going to happen. If you stand in front of a high-level striker, a technical striker with heavy hands, if you stand in front of him throwing wide hooks or spamming leg kicks, that's what's going to happen to you. You're going to get a fucking nuclear bomb right up the middle to shut your lights out. Very nice timing on that uppercut. Obviously, we didn't learn too much about Justin Tafa in that fight. Hopefully, we're going to learn a little bit more about him here. This is his fight against Jeremy Joyner from July last year, which unfortunately looks like it only lasted 30 seconds. How does Tafa put him to the sword here? Let's have a look. Tafa obviously coming out southpaw again. He is on the in the white shorts. Head kick. So he's got athleticism for a big boy too. Big right hook lands. Joyner doesn't want any of it. Vicious. As advertised so far. Tafa basically looks exactly like someone you'd expect that trains every day with Tai Tuivasa and Mark Hunt. Looks like a carbon copy of both those fighters. That's definitely nothing to be ashamed of. Mark Hunt, one of my favourite fighters of all time. Absolute legend of the sport. So now let's watch Justin Tafa's pro debut from all the way back in 2017. So this was over 2 years ago now, from XFC 30 against Dylan Tialiega. Again, I'm just going to call him Dylan because I don't want to butcher this surname. But remember, this fight was a long time ago, so we would expect Tafa to have improved quite a bit since this fight took place. And he is in the blue gloves. Dylan with the cornrows. Okay, so definitely not moving as well here. Okay, Tafa's in on a single leg. Very nice. Very nice single leg from Tafa. Does he have some grappling? You know what's interesting, boys? You know what's interesting? I have learned over the years not to pay any attention to anything the fighters say in interviews. I have learned my lesson, because fighters will tell you whatever they need to tell you to prepare themselves mentally for a fight. They'll, if you know, say, so Robert Whittaker is a great example. He will tell you he's in the best shape of his life. He will tell you that the injuries have had no effect on him. He will tell you ring rust has had no effect on him. He will tell you that he will come into this fight and look better than he ever has before. But the truth is, fighters always say that, and you can't trust them. They always say what you want them to hear, and you can't trust them, boys. That's one thing I've learned over the years. If I had $100 for every time a fighter said something wouldn't be an issue, and then they go into the fight and it's an issue, I would be a rich man. Robert Whittaker is a great example of that this weekend. His injuries will play a factor in the fight. The fact that he constantly blows his knees out and tears his ACL, of course that will impact his performance. The fact that he has had major surgery on his stomach or digestive system coming in this fight will also have an impact on his performance. To say that it won't is delusional. Human beings, they're not robots, they're not cars. You can't replace a part in a human being and it runs just like it did before. Human beings, organic matter, organic life, they're like batteries. You start with a full charge, and as you take a bit out of that battery, you know, over time the battery doesn't work as well, okay? Doesn't hold its charge as well. It just declines over time. It's a fact of life. So I've learned over the years not to pay attention to what fighters say in interviews. And now I'm going to completely contradict that, because I'm going to play you Justin Tafa's Fight Week interview just to bring your attention to something interesting that he said. Because obviously we're assuming that being a fighter that trains with, you know, Tuivasa and Mark Hunt and being a heavyweight and having that similar sort of body type and look, he's got the same fighting style, but maybe he doesn't, because Tyson Pedro likes to implement grappling into his fights, right? He would probably call himself primarily a grappler. So is Justin Tafa also a grappler? Okay, we don't know. There's not much footage available of him online, but he did say this. So I'm going to play this interview for you now.
3-0 in your career and you're about to make your UFC debut. I mean, did you ever in a million years see, this quick path to the UFC?
Bro, no way. Like, to be honest, I had like a couple of years. I was thinking maybe at the end of next year, that was like my goal. But man, they just came knocking after my last fight, and I was like, damn, I'll take it, bro, 100%.
I was gonna say, what's the conversation like? I mean, when they come, I can see the argument, hey, let's take a little time, let's get a little bit more experience. But at the same time, when they come calling, right? Yeah. So what was the conversation like?
The thing was like, I finished my fight and then I went and took my partner and my son to Bali, and then I get a phone call, someone's like, hey, I think the UFC are interested in you, and I was like, what the heck? Not once did I ever like plead, because a lot of people like right now they get to social media and they like put their last name for UFC hashtag or whatnot. But for me, I think they came like looking for me and stuff, man. I was just like, sweet. They wanted me on the contenders originally, and then they ended up bumping me onto the card, man. So I was just like, oh man, I'll take it.
So then not only are you making your UFC debut, but you're doing it in front of potentially, 60,000 people in this stadium. Bro. What's that feeling like?
Man, I've been blessed to walk out Mark Hunt, and I remember before one of his cards, I saw Izzy, I saw Israel, and he was like, hey man, when you take that walk, pretend it's yourself, because in the future it's any time. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that. So when Mark walked out, and the reception he gets, I took it as if it was my own, man. So once I got to the cage, I was like, man, I can do this. After that, I was like, bro, I'm definitely doing this, like I can do this walk.
That's awesome.
I can do the walk off too. So.
Mark Hunt, he's been a little bit of a mentor for you in the earlier days?
Yeah, 100%, like he built a team like 4 or 5 years ago, and me and my younger brother were like real blessed to come on board, and then Ty was on board, and then Tyson was there later on, and like the team that he's built, I think myself, Ty, Tyson, my little brother fights in Glory, he's like a top 5 heavyweight in the world. So man, he's done well, man. Like a lot of props go to him, man.
What's the biggest lessons you take from Mark Hunt? I mean, is it physical, tactic, skill, or is it mental?
Keep your guard up. Nah. Mentally, it's 100% the mental game. That guy, man, he's got no hesitation, man. Like you talk to him, and he, might have a bad training session, and then he'd be like, I'm still knocking that guy out, And I was like, damn. Well, he like, no matter what he'll go through, he's adamant. And I was like, damn, I need to have that same mentality, and it's really helped me, man.
You know, it's interesting because you're new to the fight game, right? But you're not new to being an athlete, and you're kind of one of this new breed of these rugby. It seems like more and more rugby stars are making it into the fight game. So, what is it about rugby that kind of leads you to being at least a little bit prepared to fight?
Well, like, I love playing footy, you know, like rugby, but fighting's been in my family, you know, like my grandfather was like a national light heavyweight boxing champion, and my uncles were world kickboxing champions. One of them fought Mark in K1, so it's just in the blood, bro.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You've taken your training camp out to Thailand. It seems like Tiger Muay Thai out there is really becoming a super camp of sorts. What's it like out there now?
Man, it's awesome. You know, like, I get to work with Frank and George Hickman, the Hickman bros, and also Glenn. He's going to be cornering me. Like, it's just a good atmosphere. Everyone's just trying to get better, get all different looks from around the world, man. It's just like, you can't explain it unless you get there yourself and you see the environment that's there and the energy that everyone brings, man. Everyone's just trying to get better, man. It only helps yourself.
Yeah. Talk about the matchup. You know, as you said, you were thinking about going on the contenders. That was kind of the plan. You saw Yorgan come through the contenders. I mean, he's still relatively new in his career, too.
Yeah.
So what do you think about him overall as an opponent?
Man, he's all right. You know, like, he's got a good kick to him. I think it'll be a fun fight, man. Like, if he wants to bang, I'm ready to bang. You know, like, I've sparred guys like Mark and Bam Bam and Tyson and all that, so. And I'm Samoan, bro, so it's in our blood to rumble, man. If you've seen Sifo and Hunt, it's in our blood, so. Either way, bro, like, I know he wants to win, but it's not going to be happening, bro.
It's going to be the first time a lot of people see you fight, obviously. Yeah. I mean, looking at your record, 3-0, 3 KOs, I think people could probably infer that you're somebody that's going to bring some excitement, that's going to come looking to finish the fight. But if they haven't seen you, what type of fighter are you?
Yeah, like I don't know, man, like, I'll just say I'm a striker. I want to knock guys out, you know. At the end of the day, I just want to knock this guy out. I just want to see him go stiff, you know, like, walk off. That's all I want to do.
What overall is your goal in this fight? I mean, obviously, of course, it's to win. But I mean, is this something where like you want to come and explode on the stage and show like I'm this new contender, or is this more like, hey, let me get in there, let me prove I belong at this level, let me prove to myself? I mean, when you think about this, other than just winning, I mean, what's the goals here?
For me, it's I want a good impression, you know. I want people to see that I'm not just your typical banger. Like, I do have a all-round the game. I do have a good cardio tank. So it's going to be like, damn, this Samoan's got some cardio. You know, they're going to be like, oh shit, this guy's got some cardio. Might call me Justin Covington or something. Nah. Something like that, man. Like, you're going to see all around the game. You're going to see some good volume, bro, some good power. It's just going to be like, damn, this guy deserves to be here, and this is why he's on the main card now.
I was going to say, I mean, so you've imagined this moment now. It's on the main card. I mean, I can't imagine a bigger debut than this. Pay-per-view, main card, stadium show. I know you're planning on getting your hand raised. What do you think? Are we going to see, you know, as you said, a tactical affair, a good battle back and forth, or do you feel like you can go out and dominate and get your hand raised quick? What do we see?
Well, to be honest, I don't know. You know, like, I don't chase the knockout, because that's when you start, you know, throwing your game plan out the window. I want to be like I don't know, it's like a cerebral assassin, bro. I'm gonna break this guy down, and then he's gonna give me his chin, and then he's gonna go sleep.
Very, very cool interview there, boys. I just wanted to draw your attention just to a few things that Justin Tafa said there. Now, we know better than to listen to what fighters say in interviews, but he certainly did give us some interesting stuff to pay attention to, right? So the first question that we're going to have over Justin Tafa is, what is his cardio going to be like? You know, he's going to be fighting on this huge event in the Marvel Stadium. The crowd are really going to get behind him. How is his cardio going to hold up? Is he going to adrenaline dump? And, you know, we've seen here, obviously, we're not going to be able to gauge his cardio that well because these fights ended very quickly. They're probably against a low level of opponent where he's not really been tested that much. But we know that Tuivasa's got very good cardio for a heavyweight, and Mark Hunt, if he keeps a fight standing, has also got excellent cardio for a heavyweight. So, certainly comes from a good stable of guys, and Tafa actually referenced the cardio there. He said that, you know, his cardio is very good. People are going to be surprised by his cardio. He can fight at a high pace. He also said he's going to bring a lot of volume as well as power. And one of the more interesting things that he said in that interview was that he said you're going to see an all-round game from me, a complete mixed martial arts game. And when he said that, I thought he was kind of joking when I watched the interview earlier on in the week. But when I've watched this fight now for the first time against Dylan, and I've seen him get in on a really nice deep single leg and upset the balance of Dylan and complete that takedown straight into half guard, maybe there is more to Tafa than meets the eye, and maybe he is more leaning towards what Tyson Pedro brings to the table in that camp, where Pedro is primarily a grappler rather than Tuivasa and Hunt, who are very, very primarily boxers, right? That's what you kind of expect from Tafa due to his appearance, but you never judge a book by his cover. And even though he said in that interview that he wants to knock people out and make people go stiff, just 40 seconds into this fight, he's jumped in on a single leg and jumped straight into top position into half guard after completing the takedown, which is a great sign, because this isn't a fight where he's feeling tired and he's had to shoot a desperation takedown, or he's hurt and he's shot a desperation takedown, or he's trying to break the forward pressure and momentum of his opponent. This is still very early on in the fight when he's chosen to take this fight to the ground, which to me shows decent fight IQ and an all-round well-rounded mix, all-round well-rounded mixture of skills, especially 40 seconds into his pro debut, which it's great to see. So I'm very interested to see how the rest of this fight plays out here now. Not good. Spoke too soon. Gets reversed easily from top position. But that is what's cool about doing these live research videos, right, boys? We're learning about these guys together. This is unscripted. This is just on the fly. But very, very nice how... What I do like about what Tafa's done here is, even though he gets reversed very, very easily by Dylan, despite the fact Tafa was in half guard, which is a position you should never get reversed from. This is Tafa's pro debut. It was over 2 years ago. I'm sure he's improved a lot since then. But what I do like is that, at the point that this reversal gets completed, Tafa, being an inexperienced grappler, might just accept being on the bottom and allow his opponents to flatten his shoulders out on the canvas and establish a dominant position. But he doesn't do that. He immediately works to try and create a scramble to get back to his feet and uses the Mark Hunt type roll, just create a little bit of space for himself and pops back up. Very, very nice. So good stuff there from Tafa. Didn't accept being caught in a bad position. And also, if you look at what he does here, in this position, as he's trying to work his way back to his feet, his opponent is going to try and get in on his hips to put him back on the ground. He's going to try and get in on these legs. But Tafa does a great job of clearing his legs, making sure his legs are a good distance away from his opponent to prevent him from doing that. And one of the ways that he does this is he threatens with his own single leg again here, which is the technique that he initially was able to get the fight to the ground with. In this position, offense is the best form of defense, because you could see as they pop back up to their feet, if we watch it in real time, it's a little bit more obvious. So we watch this in real time here. As soon as he pops back up to his feet, Dylan's thinking, how can I get this fight back to the ground? And in order to do that, he needs to get in on the legs. But Tafa understands that risk, so he makes sure his legs are a good distance away. And you know that Dylan wants to get the fight back to the ground, because he doesn't let go of the head. By keeping control of the head indicates that he's going to try and chain from the head back into the legs or the waist or the body to get the fight back down to the ground. He's not willing to let this grappling exchange go. He wants to get this fight back to the ground. Whereas if he was happy just to get the fight, if he was happy just for both guys to stand back up, he would have let go of the head and gone back into striking range, back into kickboxing range. But he hasn't done that. He's kept a hold of Justin, and you can see he was planning on chaining into another takedown. But very, very good grappling awareness here from Tafa, understanding that the best way to keep Dylan off your legs is to make him defend a takedown from you, which is very, very smart. So Justin gets in on a single leg here that I'm guessing, obviously this is the first time I've ever seen the fight, but I'm guessing he's going to use this to keep his legs a good distance away from Dylan and then eventually disengage to get back up. That's what's going to happen here. Again, in on the single leg, just letting his opponent have his neck here. and he's probably going to use this to either stand back up and disengage, or he's probably going to, well, there you go, they're back up, that's exactly how it played out. His opponent not willing to let go of the head just yet, but a very nice exchange there. We're only a minute and 20 seconds into the fight, but a lot of stuff happened there, a lot for us to process. And now we've got both boys back up in kickboxing range. Tafa in the southpaw stance, and his striking definitely not looking anywhere near as polished as it did in the other two fights that we watched. So remember, in the interview video that we watched, Tafa said that he went to train with Mark Hunter about 3 or 4 years ago. So with this fight being... Oh, very nice body. That was a hard body kick that landed. Another very hard body kick. And did a good job of slipping his opponent's right hand counter. But this fight is, around 2.5 years ago, which means that he was probably only training with Mark Hunt for about maybe a year or 18 months at the point that this fight took place. Maybe even 6 months, right? If Tafa did go and train there 3 years ago, and this was 2.5 years ago. Maybe he'd only been training with Mark Hunt for 6 months, a year maybe tops. So we can't be too harsh on him for this performance, because he definitely doesn't look as sharp as he did, in the other two fights we watched standing. But again, it is also important to point out that he's showing some grappling awareness very early on in his MMA career. Remember, this is his pro debut, which is absolutely great to see. Now we see these boys mixing it up in the clinch against the cage. And not really getting to see too much of Mark Hunt's not Mark Hunt. God, my head's gone. Not seeing too much of Tafa's. His nickname should be Jaffa. Combine Justin and Tafa for Jaffa. We're not seeing too much of his takedown defense being tested there, though, as Dylan isn't really threatening with anything from that clinch position. We're obviously back in kickboxing range now. Tafa looking pretty tired at this point in the fight, which is very disappointing. We just heard him talk about being a cardio machine, and 3.5 minutes into this first round, he's looking quite sloppy, quite gassed out. Very flat-footed, and obviously if he looks this tired very early on into his fight against De Castro, he's going to be in a bit of trouble, because as we know, if we look at De Castro's record, he has gone the distance on a few different occasions, or maybe not the distance, but he went deep into the third round of CES 50. So let's see how the rest of this fight plays out. Will Tafa catch a second wind here? Because I believe he does somehow get a finish in the second round, but that could be because his opponent is giving him a lot of time to recover here. Not really pressuring Tafa that much, giving him many opportunities to catch his breath. And again, going to the body kick there for the third time in the fight, getting his head snapped back off a nice right straight from Dylan. But clearly has a lot of power in his hands. He's had enough of being backed up, and then finally decides to fire back after taking 40 seconds to a minute off to recover. Now he's in on his own body lock here. He's got his hands connected around Dylan's body, and he's able to complete another very nice takedown straight into side control and mount. Wow. So that does show us that Dylan is at a very low level on the ground. He should never have been mounted from that position. I mean, if you look at the referee's kind of in the way, but in this position where Dylan goes for the body lock takedown, kind of like a suplex from this position, he's actually off balance, and he's in a terrible position here. Justin might have been able to reverse position and end up on top there if he was a little bit more savvy when it came to grappling, but he has ended up in a horrendous position here, giving up mount very easily, and looks like he's going to survive till the end of this round. I'm pretty sure the finish in this fight came in the second round. Yeah, Tafa's certainly making a lot of mistakes here from top position. Looking to the referee for a stoppage. Not really sure what he's doing here, but remember, he's very inexperienced. This is his debut. Into the second round now. So Tafa was looking very tired there. midway through that first round, but he found some energy from somewhere to get that takedown and uncork a hell of a lot of ground and pound from top position. And it looks like he's been hurt there by that right straight from Dylan. And again, Dylan gives up a really weak takedown. I'm guessing he's going to give up mount very easily, which is going to absolutely gift Tafa this win. I mean, mount is there for Tafa. All he's got to do is slide his left leg out, which he's just done. Now all he's got to do is step over. Okay. That's all kinds of bad. That is all kinds of bad. That is all kinds of bad. Tafa was looking very heavy from top position, and now Tafa's at risk of being mounted because, again, his guard's very leaky. All Dylan's got to really do is slide his left leg out here, which he's trying to do now. And there it is, boys. Oh my God, it is a mount fest. This is hard to watch, boys. This is hard to watch. No disrespect to these boys, because I am too much of a pussy to ever do what these guys are doing right now. But, oh, he's put himself back. He has put himself back in half guard. Interesting choice of techniques from these guys. That's not always bad. You are at risk of being reversed more so from mount than you are in half guard. But Justin Tafa didn't look like he was getting anything, and he's just gone back to mount. Yeah, this is all kinds of bad, boys. This is bad. Remember, this is Tafa. Beautiful guard recovery there. If he just gets his left leg out and recovers full guard, left leg needs to come out. It's not. He's going to give up half guard. This is all kinds of bad, but I don't really want to analyse this and put too much weight on it, just because this is Tafa's debut, his pro debut. This was his first ever pro fight. Probably only been training MMA for like 6 months to a year. There's no surprise he's going to be making loads of mistakes here. And he's definitely not looking as sharp as he did in those other 2 fights that we watched. It's a shame we couldn't have watched the first round of this fight against David Taupamau. Shame that if you can find the first round, boys, from XFC 41, please let me know. I could only find the second round. Maybe we'll have a little look at that in a little while. But remember, Tafa's bound to have improved a hell of a lot. You know, training for the last 2 years with Mark Hunt, Tai Tuivasa, Tyson Pedro. Although, as we saw in the live stream research video for the fight between Tuivasa and Spivak, you know, Tuivasa hasn't really improved that much on the ground either in that time. It's bad. How the fuck does Tafa end up winning? That's what I want to know. Because he's looking gassed out of his mind, getting mounted repeatedly. How does Tafa win? What happened there? Whoops, boys. Easy. Sorry, boys. Yeah, I want to see how Tafa ends up winning this. Because he's mounted here. He literally just... I just don't even know what... I don't really even know what to describe what I've just seen. Tafa and Dylan both made a lot of mistakes there. And Tafa was the guy to come out on top. But if he were to make those same mistakes against almost any UFC heavyweight, he would just lose. He would just get dominated from top position. I mean, I'm pretty sure... I mean, usually if you give up mount once in an MMA fight, particularly at heavyweight, if you give up mount in a heavyweight fight, usually it's a death sentence. If you make that mistake once, you get mounted twice, it's got to be over. And I'm sure Tafa gave Justin... I'm sure Tafa gave Dylan mount like 3 or 4 times in that fight at least. And somehow managed to end up winning. It's a bit of a head scratcher. That's why you watch footage though and do proper research. So where does that leave us from a betting perspective, boys? Because that's pretty much all the footage we've got to work from. The only other fight that I've watched while researching this fight to formulate my opinion is De Castro's last fight from the Contender Series against Alton Meeks, which you can find on UFC Fight Pass. In fact, let's see if we can find this fight, the first round, because we've only really got the second round. Can't spell. Let's see what we've got. Is it here? on MMA latest news. Is it here? Is this the fight? No, that's round 2. We've seen that. Was it against Joyner? No, we've seen that. No, it's not there. Sometimes if you go XFC 41 full. What's this? Not having much luck here, boys. Sometimes you'll find like an upload of the whole event, but we're not finding a lot. Is it on their Facebook? Doesn't look like it, boys. Doesn't look like it. Right. With that, let's summarize. Let us summarize. Because remember, for all the bad things that we have said about both these guys, for all their weaknesses, the odds are still roughly even, right? So there's a lot of value there, even if you take a gamble on either of these guys. So if we look at the current odds, around 1.80 on Justin Tafa, which is minus 125 for an implied probability of 56%. And then Yorgan de Castro, odds of around about, call it 2.05, which is plus 105 for an implied probability of 49%. So roughly a 50-50 fight. To get any value here, you'd want to cap de Castro around about 60%. You'd want to cap Tafa at around... Maybe you could get away with 60%. No, that's wrong. Maybe you'd want to get... It depends what odds your bookie you've got. If he's on the lower side at 1.74, which some betting sites do have him at, you really need to cap him around 65% to get any value there. Oh, Hiltzy just might have... Hiltzy on the Twitch live stream might just have found the first round. What have we got here? No, I think we watched this fight. Never mind. Anyway, thanks anyway though, Hiltz. Where do we look at this fight from a betting perspective? Look, right, boys, I'm always looking for strong positions to put my money. And I don't think either of these guys are a particularly strong position to put your money. Again, I'm sorry to be boring, but I like money. I don't like being the smartest guy in the bar. I have no interest in trying to, brag about being the smartest guy in the bar and, brag about picks and all that kind of thing. At the end of the day, I just want to make money. I just want to put my money in strong positions, and I don't see any strong positions on this fight. It's easy for people to bet, $50, $100 on fights, to just go and fucking have 5 or 6 bets per event. That's easy for them. But when you're putting down serious money, say you had 5 or 10 grand, right? Would you want to bet 5 or 10 grand on either of those fighters based on what I've just showed you? Say you had 20 grand. Would you want to put it on either of these fighters when there are a bunch of other better things you could spend your money on? Sure, you might want to take a $10 flyer on Tafa because he certainly looked reasonably good in those last 2 fights that we watched. It looks like his boxing may be able to punish de Castro for his bad striking defense, but then if de Castro's able to get him to the ground, I mean, he might not even need to get into the ground. Tafa might take him down and give up another easy reversal. I mean, we don't really know anything about either guy's ground game. De Castro trains with Joe Lauzon, or has in the past, which indicates he might have some ground game. Maybe there's value on de Castro as an underdog. I don't know. I don't give a fuck, to be perfectly honest with you. There's no way to know who's going to win this fight this weekend based on what we've seen. And for that reason, you should pass. And you're kidding yourself if you think it's smart to bet on either of these guys. It is an easy pass for me. Very sorry to be boring, but there's no way that you can place a bet based on what I've just showed you. Castro certainly ticks a lot of boxes. He's talking about having a well-rounded skill set. He's talking about improving a lot over the last 3-4 years since he went to train with Mark Hunt. He's talking about having good cardio. He has home advantage. clearly has knockout power. He's fighting a guy that does have bad striking defense. But at the end of the day, you know what they say, boys. Assumption is the mother of all fuck-ups. And if you assume a fighter will perform a certain way based on how they talk in an interview, you are setting yourself up for failure. You should always base your decisions on skills demonstrated within the octagon. And for that reason, I cannot bet on Tafa. And I definitely cannot bet on Yorgan de Castro. Because if he stands in front of Tafa, flat-footed, spamming those leg kicks, he is going to get knocked the fuck out. So it is very, very unfortunate that I have to pass here. I wish I had more footage available on these boys, because I have a feeling if we had more footage available, we may be able to make a better betting decision. But at the same time, if there was more footage available, both guys probably wouldn't be close to even money. So just pass, boys. Keep it simple. And with that, if you guys have got any questions, if you're watching on Twitch, please drop them in the live chat now and I'll answer them for you. If not, that's going to be it for this video. But thank you to everyone that's watching. Thank you to everyone that's hit like on a video this week, and thank you to everyone that has left a comment. I really, really, really appreciate it. As soon as this video is done, I will go into planning a very in-depth breakdown video on the main event between Israel Adesanya and Robert Whittaker this weekend. I do have a bet on that fight, so keep an eye out for that breakdown. I feel very, very strongly about this fight, that one of these guys is an excellent bet, so keep an eye out for that. And I do have a couple more fights, well, actually I don't have a couple more fights to research. I only have one more fight to research now. The only fight left to do, that's not true, I do still have 2 fights to research. I still have Diego Lima versus Luke Jamo to research, and I still have Jake Matthews against Rostam Akman. I'm going to live stream my research for Jake Matthews versus Rostam Akman sometime over the next 2 days. But come tomorrow, I will be focusing on Bellator 229. In fact, tonight I want to try and research a couple of these fights before the odds move too much. So, Irish brother, I am going to talk about the main event in the next video, man. I am going to put down a really, really, really in-depth breakdown on that one, mate. And hopefully you will like it. It will be coming very soon. I'm going to go get my iPad out and plan it all out nicely. I click you tilt has asked, do you like Rostam Akman and Silva as underdogs? I haven't researched the fight between Matthews and Akman yet, but Akman's definitely interesting as a big underdog because he's pretty decent. He gassed bad and underperformed quite significantly in his UFC debut, but I think that might have just been octagon jitters. In his fights that I've watched of his in Superior Challenge, he's actually looked really, really good, and we can go through those fights and watch them together when I do that live stream research video. I think this might be a decent one for betting. I definitely won't be betting Jake Matthews at these odds because, like I say, Akman is decent and Jake Matthews has got really bad fight IQ, but Akman is definitely a potential bet for me as a big underdog, so I am looking forward to jumping into that fight. But there's no rush to research that fight, right? The reason why I've left the Jake Matthews Rostam Akman fight is because the odds have been improving on Akman all week. There's no way that I would ever bet Jake Matthews as a big favourite because he's got really bad fight IQ. So I've just taken my time. I've left Matthews versus Akman till last because his odds have been improving all week. So that'll be the last fight that I research this weekend. Sorry, you might not have been able to see that because of the face cam. As you can see, Akman's odds have been improving all weekend, or all week actually. That's why I've left that fight till last to research, because you can't bet Jake Matthews is a big favourite. It's absolute madness. And Akman is decent. So Luke Dragon Flame has asked, how do you prolong your time betting from getting banned from a bookie when winning too much? I just get right back on it, man. I don't wait any time at all. And at Tasmanian 187 indicating that he might have already bet Akman, which is super interesting. I'm looking forward to jumping into that fight. And I've just seen Megan Anderson's odds have got steamed. What are people seeing? What are people seeing? Absolute crazy. Starting to see some line movement now. Kim's odds getting steamed. Very, very strange to me. I will be covering that fight as well in that breakdown video. But I think that is going to be it, boys. Oh, sorry, Silva to beat Taha. You know what, man? I click you tilt has just reminded me. He asked a question about Bruno Silva. So this fight's a really frustrating one. Let's get it up. So this is the only fight that I won't be discussing on the channel this week. Quite simply because I don't really have an opinion on it and I have nothing to talk on. Simply because, and actually maybe you guys can help me out if you're watching. I would really appreciate your help. Because Khalid Taha has got really bad takedown defense. Alright, and he's not very good off his back. Bruno Silva is a full-time training partner of Henry Cejudo. Let's have a look, see if he's got an Instagram. I'll probably need to check UFC in there as well, because there's probably a lot of people called Bruno Silva in the world. So this is this Bruno Silva? I feel absolutely terrible, but I don't think this is him. I don't think it is him. Maybe it's Bruno Bulldog. Let's have a look. Okay, that's not available. That's definitely not him. Okay, sometimes, guys, pro tip. If you can't find their Instagram profile using Google, sometimes it gets listed on their UFC page. Let's see if it's here or maybe here. Let's take a look. Is this him? 11-3. Yeah, this must be him. Sometimes they list the Instagram on here. It's not here, boys. Okay, maybe if we go to Henry Cejudo's Instagram, we will see him there. The king of cringe, top of Google, not very difficult. Not very difficult to find. Absolutely amazing stuff. Keep your friends close, be your gold closer. Quality. Let's see if we can see Bruno Silva here. No, it's all promo stuff. I tell you where we'll find it. I don't just want to throw a comment out into the universe without backing it up. So shout out to Einstein, one of my elite members. Shout out to you, Einstein, man. So Einstein, one of my elite members, sent this clip to me earlier this week for me to watch. My elite members, man, always making life easier for me, which is crazy because they pay me a lot of money. I should be making life easier for you. But shout out to Einstein 500, one of my elite members, that sent me this video earlier this week to say that this is a video showing, here is Bruno Silva, here, the guy that's fighting Khalid Taha. He is fighting this weekend in his debut in the UFC, but there's not much footage available on him recently. But the point I'm trying to make is he is a full-time training partner of Henry Cejudo. Here is basically Henry Cejudo talking about how great Bruno Silva is, etc, etc. I tell you what, boys, I will leave a link in the description below for this video if you want to go check it out. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll leave a link to this in the description below. Also, give the Schmo a like and subscribe as well, because the Schmo, fucking legend in MMA, the most interesting MMA media guy at the moment. The Schmo is an absolute fucking beast in the game. But this video just basically show you Bruno Silva trains full time with Henry Cejudo, and they have quite a good relationship together. Now, what I will also say is, I can't remember the guy's name, which is really disrespectful of me, but I will discover his name now. What is his name? Eric Albarakin. And I'm probably not pronouncing that correct, so I'm really, really sorry, Eric. But you are a fucking beast in the game, mate. You should call yourself Dr. Eric, because you are an expert in your field, my man. You are a fucking beast, and you're an extremely good MMA coach. And I respect you to the fullest, and I think you are a monster at what you do, man. Don't know if he's got an Instagram profile, but anyway, Eric, I'm not going to say your surname because I don't want to get it wrong. You are a fucking beast, mate, and you're not on Instagram, by the look of it. Maybe he is. Oh yeah, here he is. He's posting content of Bruno Silva. There he is, man. There he is. Our boy Bruno Silva. But here's Eric. So here is Eric last weekend with Pitbull, who obviously retained his title by putting on an extremely dominant performance at Bellator 228 against Juan Archuleta. So the point I am trying to make, I'll finally get to the point, boys. I am not a video dude. I am an introvert, right? I know I ramble. Yeah, I'll get better in time. Don't worry about it. The point I'm trying to make within all of this is that this guy here is a motherfucking beast. He is a doctor. He is an expert in his field. He is one of the best coaches in all of MMA. He is an absolute incredible coach, right? Underrated coach, superb coach. Because if we look at Henry Cejudo, so if we look at Cejudo's record, recently he has looked incredible. His last 3 performances against Marlon Moraes, TJ Dillashaw and Demetrius Johnson have been flawless. The improvements that Henry Cejudo has been able to make in a short amount of time are nothing short of spectacular. He is excellent. Absolutely excellent, right? And you've got to credit his coach Eric with a lot of those improvements. And if you go and look at, Cejudo's last few fights and then go back and watch him in his last fight against Mighty Mouse, his fight against Joseph Benavidez, his fight against Jussier Formiga, Chico Campos, it's like looking at a completely different fighter. He's improved so much in a short space of time. But, you do see this. You look at, you see fighters and coaches that have a very special relationship, and one fighter is able to improve a lot and reach amazing heights under one set of coaches. So, for example, I don't think John Kavanagh at SBG Ireland is a very good coach. I think SBG Ireland is a bit of a meme camp. I think when fighters go to SBG, they very rarely improve. Quite often they go backwards. If you look at all the fighters that have come out of SBG, not many of them actually ever improve. But you got Conor McGregor, that's this unicorn, right? Also, you could say the same about John Jones with Greg Jackson. At one point in time, Jackson's was an incredible camp that was churning out these high-level fighters. But over the last few years, fighters that have gone to train at Jackson's have gone backwards. They certainly haven't improved. Whereas John Jones is this unicorn that just clicks very, very nicely with Greg Jackson and Mike Winklejohn. But the point I'm trying to make, I'm eventually getting to this point. Again, I'm really sorry, boys. I'm not cut out for this video thing. Point I'm trying to make in all of this is Henry Cejudo has shown massive improvements under his coach Eric. But when you see fighters make these kind of improvements at a high level, quite often it can be because of a special relationship and a bond between these fighters. Not necessarily the skills of the coach and the coach's ability to apply his own way of doing things to improve many different fighters. So, for example, you look at Mike Brown at ATT. If any fighter goes to train under Mike Brown at ATT, they improve. It goes without saying. There are certain coaches that can improve anyone. Duke Rufus is another guy. Dean Thomas is another guy. For as many bad coaches like John Kavanagh and Greg, I'm not saying Greg Jackson's a bad coach because he helped a lot of people do a lot of great things, but at the moment Jackson's got some problems, right? Even Faraz Sahabi, guys that go to TriStar don't always improve. Sometimes they go backwards or stagnate. Sometimes Faraz Sahabi seems to have that magic sauce and guys do improve, but not always, not always. But some coaches, like a Mike Brown, whoever goes to train under them, they improve a lot. And I'm tempted to say Eric fits into that Mike Brown type category because not only have we seen vast improvements with Henry Cejudo's game, both Pitbull brothers have also made significant improvements since training with Eric. And that's why I wanted to bring this picture up here. The Pitbull that fought Juan Archuleta on Saturday night is a completely different Pitbull than what we saw 2 or 3 years ago, and you have to credit his coach with that. So in the end, I'm finally going to make my point. I am finally going to make my point. And sorry, I'm just having to Twitch is getting a little bit aggressive and trying to block some comments from Luke Dragon Flame, so I just had to unblock the comments on Twitch. But the point I'm trying to make in all of this is we don't really know anything about Bruno Silva. None of his recent fights are available to watch online, but if you are watching this on YouTube, please, boys, if you know where these fights are, please leave a comment and share them with me. I wish I could buy these fights to watch them. I've hunted. I spent a long time trying to find these fights online. I only need to watch either this fight or this fight. I really want to find them, boys, but I can't find them online. If you can find them, please share them with me in the comments. But what's extra annoying as well is LFA, you used to be able to buy all the LFA events on the Access TV website, but Access TV have now lost the rights to broadcast LFA, so you can't buy their fights online anymore. You can't get access to old LFA fights. What I used to just buy LFA events off this website, and I've got a huge library of LFA events you know, that I've downloaded, but I haven't got LFA 11, which is super fucking frustrating, because I can't help but feel that if I could watch this fight, I would know what to do in terms of betting on this matchup. But as it happens, these 3 fights are not available. These fights are, but they were 3-4 years ago. So it's tough, boys. It is tough. It is very, very tough. I wish these fights were available. The point I'm trying to make, boys, right, is we don't know a lot about Bruno Silva because there's not much recent footage available on us. We do know Khalid Taha is an excellent kickboxer, but he has bad takedown defense and a very low-level ground game. We do know Henry Cejudo is pound for pound one of the best fighters in the world, one of the best MMA grapplers in the world, and if Bruno Silva trains full-time with him every single day, you would anticipate that Bruno Silva would be quite a good grappler. On top of that, his coach is also fucking amazing. Yeah, his coach is amazing. So, when you're looking at everything, Bruno Silva has got a lot going for him, right? But remember I said, boys, I like to play tight aggressive. I like to only put my money in strong positions. And unless I see it with my own eyes, I don't want to guess. And you know what they say, boys, assumption is the mother of all fuck-ups. You might be a really loose gambler, and based on everything that I've just said, that might be enough for you to take a shot on Bruno Silva as an underdog. But unless I see him fight, I can't bet him. How can I justify betting on a guy that I've never seen fight? You know what I mean, boys? Like, give me a break. So I won't be breaking down the Bruno Silva-Taha fight this week. That's the best you're going to get, because there's no recent footage available on Silva. But he's got a lot going for him. I mean, a split decision draw to Casey Kenny, who's very good back in 2017, indicates he's decent. Indicates he does have some grappling, because Casey Kenny is primarily a grappler, but it's a head scratcher, boys. It is a head scratcher. But that's how I feel about that fight, right? Taha against Silva. So with that, boys, that is going to be it, I think, unless we got any more questions on Twitch. Luke Dragonflame just saying that AK is the best camp. They've got Khabib, they've got DC, as well as up-and-coming bad motherfuckers like Islam Makhachev. Baylor Muhammad trains at Rufus Sport, dude, but he is very good. He doesn't train at AKA, but I agree with you. Islam Makhachev is an absolute nightmare. But yeah, that is it for this video, boys. I'll be back very soon breaking down the main event between Robert Whittaker and Israel Adesanya. I have a bet on that fight that I feel very confident in. And I'll be sharing that with you boys very soon. So I hope you enjoy this video, guys. I will be back very soon with another live stream. If you like these live streams, you want me to keep doing them, or if you like these live research videos and you're watching them after the fact on YouTube, you want me to keep pumping them out, hit the like button below. and also subscribe to show me that you want me to keep pumping this content out, and also leave a comment. I do receive a lot of comments, don't always have time to reply to you, but I always read them, and I really, really appreciate it. And boys, remember, I've thrown the bat signal. I've thrown the bat signal out on this video, right? I need your help. Please help me find some of these fights. If you've got LFA 11 on a hard drive, I will pay you money. Please, I need to see these fights. There's lots of fights from Yorgan de Castro that I'd like to see. There's lots of fights from Bruno Silva I'd like to see. And there's that first round from that fight that we couldn't watch of Justin Tafa's. If you have any of this footage, boys, I'm throwing out the bat signal. I will pay you money. Please hook a brother up and leave the link in the comments below. But that is it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care, and I will be back very, 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 very soon with a breakdown for Whittaker against Adesanya. Take care, boys, and remember, only put your money in strong positions.